The world ended in a symphony of screeching metal and the acrid stench of burning fuel. Aiden Cole hung upside down in the mangled remains of his rally car. Blood dripped steadily from his forehead, blurring his vision, but he could still hear the radio. He always heard the radio. Is he done? A female voice giggled. It was Maya, his wife. Should be. I cut the brake lines myself. A man replied. Ethan, her high school sweetheart. Once the car goes over Dead Man's Cliff, we collect the insurance, just like we planned. Aiden tried to move. His legs were pinned under the twisted chassis. He couldn't scream. He couldn't fight. He could only listen as the two people he had trusted most counted his life insurance money. I still can't believe he fell for that "I'm your savior" act. Ethan sneered, wearing that fake pendant. Pathetic. The idiot was desperate. Maya said. He cared more about that stupid crash from 10 years ago than he ever cared about me. But hey, his money is real enough. Aiden closed his eyes, the memory of a gold pendant, cold against his palm as he blacked out in a ditch 10 years ago, haunted him. He had spent a decade searching for the girl who saved him. He gave Maya everything because she claimed that pendant. And it was all a lie. A sharp pain lanced through his chest as the flames reached the gas tank. I should have listened, he thought as the darkness took him. I should have listened to the girl in the garage. Aiden's eyes snapped open. Silence. No fire. No pain. No taunting voices. He was lying on a worn-out pit couch in the Nashville Speedway garage. The familiar scent of motor oil and ozone filled his nostrils. He looked down at his hands. They were clean. No blood. Aiden, you look like hell. Eat this. A hand shoved a turkey sandwich into his chest. He looked up. Time stopped. It was her. Not Maya. Not the liar in the expensive dress. It was the girl from his memories. Short brown hair tucked under a grease-stained cap. Bright blue eyes that held no malice. Only impatience. Chloe Bennett. In his past life, he hadn't realized who she was until it was too late. He had dismissed her as Marcus's kid sister, who sometimes hung around the garage. But now, seeing her again, the fog in his brain cleared. She was the one who pulled him from the wreckage 10 years ago. She was the one whose pendant he had clutched. You gonna stare at me or eat? Chloe asked, planting a fist on her hip. And for God's sake, don't take the car out today. Aiden's heart hammered against his ribs. He wasn't dead. He was back. He was here. What did you say? His voice was hoarse. The car, Chloe said, leaning closer. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. I was listening to the engine during warm-ups. There's a ticking in the rear axle. Sounds like a loose bolt in the suspension. Or worse, in his past life, he had ignored her. He had laughed it off, called her cute for trying to sound smart, and driven to his death. This time, he didn't laugh. He grabbed her wrist, not hard, but firmly enough to make her blink. Her skin was warm, real. Show me, he said, before Chloe could respond. A sugary sweet voice cut through the garage. Aiden, baby. Maya Jennings sashayed toward them. She wore a skimpy cheerleading uniform that left little to the imagination and a fake silver pendant around her neck. The one she claimed was the token from his rescue. She stopped when she saw Aiden holding Chloe's wrist. Her smile faltered for a split second before she plastered it back on. Aiden, what are you doing? Let go of the help. Maya purred, reaching out to touch his arm. We need to talk about our anniversary trip. I was thinking Paris. Aiden released Chloe. He stood up slowly, his height casting a long shadow over Maya. We aren't going to Paris, he said flatly. Maya pouted. Don't be like that. And why are you listening to her? She's just a nobody. Everyone knows I'm the one who saved you. Aiden looked at the fake pendant. Then he looked at Chloe. Chloe rolled her eyes and muttered, unbelievable, before turning to grab a wrench. Maya, Aiden said. His voice was ice. Get out of my sight. Maya's face turned red. Excuse me, do you know how many guys want to be in my place? Ethan says. Ethan. Aiden interrupted. The name tasted like poison. He stepped closer to her, his presence suffocating. Tell Ethan that if he comes near my garage again, I'll feed him his teeth. And tell him the brake lines on his own car look a little frayed. Maya paled. She opened her mouth to argue. But Aiden had already turned away. He walked over to Chloe. Point out the bolt. Chloe didn't hesitate. She led him to the rear of the GT40. Sure enough, a critical suspension bolt was loose. Loose enough to fail at high speed on the Tennessee switchbacks. Marcus, Chloe's brother and Aiden's chief mechanic, walked in just as Aiden tightened the bolt. Boss, what's going on? Why aren't you suiting up? I'm not racing today, Aiden said. He looked at Chloe, then back at Marcus. Your sister found a problem. She was right. Marcus looked shocked, then proud. Atta girl, Chloe. Aiden looked back at the entrance where Maya had stormed out. In his past life, he died today. He died because he trusted a lie. Today, he was alive, and he knew exactly who he was going to spend the rest of his life looking at. He reached out and gently tugged the bill of Chloe's cap. Thanks, he murmured. Chloe shrugged, but a small smile played on her lips. Just don't crash, okay? I hate filling out insurance forms. Aiden smiled for the first time in a decade. The garage felt different when you weren't staring down a death sentence. In his past life, Aiden had treated this place like a factory, a means to an end. Today, he leaned against the workbench and watched Chloe work. Really watched her. She moved with a rhythm most mechanics took 20 years to perfect. Efficient, precise. She didn't waste energy on flashy movements. Every turn of the wrench was calculated. Maya's voice still echoed in his head, but it sounded smaller now. Petty. She's just a nobody. Aiden looked at the pendant hanging around Chloe's neck, half hidden under her collar. It wasn't silver. It was old gold. The real thing. Aiden, Marcus said, walking over with a heavy sigh. You sure about sitting this one out? Sponsors are gonna be pissed. I'm sure, Aiden said. He handed Marcus a set of keys. Take the secondary car. Run a diagnostic on the primary's brake lines. All of them. I want a report by 5. Marcus hesitated. You think someone actually messed with them? Maya seemed pretty shook when you mentioned. I don't care how she seemed. Aiden cut in, his voice low. I care about facts. Find the facts. Marcus nodded and headed toward the lift. Chloe glanced up from the engine bay. You're causing a lot of drama for a Tuesday. Aiden pushed off the bench and walked over to her. He stood close enough to feel the heat radiating off the engine block, close enough to smell the motor oil on her skin, a scent he now associated with safety. Drama is Maya showing up uninvited. Aiden said, This is damage control. Chloe wiped her hands on a rag. You know, in my advanced physics class, we learned that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You just pissed off your wife in front of half the pit crew. The reaction's coming. She's not my wife. Aiden corrected. The words felt right. Liberating. Not really. And if I have anything to say about it, she won't be for much longer. Chloe raised an eyebrow. Heavy stuff. You sure you weren't concussed earlier? Because this is the first intelligent thing I've heard you say since I met you. Aiden almost smiled. I'm feeling very clear-headed today. Chloe. He reached out, stopping just short of touching the pendant. He wanted to ask her about it. He wanted to tell her he remembered the weight of it in his hand as he lay bleeding in a ditch. But he held back. Timing was everything. If he told her he'd been reborn, she'd call a psych ward, not a mechanic. He needed her to trust him first. He needed her to choose him without the shadow of his past life clouding her judgment. Mr. Cole. Aiden turned. His lead security guard, Derek, was standing at the garage entrance. Behind him, Maya was trying to push through, her face a mask of fury. She says she needs to speak with you, Derek said, looking unimpressed. She can wait, Aiden said, or she can leave. Maya heard him. She shoved past Derek, her high heels clicking angrily on the concrete floor. Aiden, this is insane. You embarrassed me out there. Do you have any idea what people are saying? They're saying you're listening to her over me. She jabbed a finger toward Chloe. Chloe didn't even look up from the carburetor she was reassembling. If the carburetor was a person, it'd be offended by that comparison. Maya's eye twitched. You think you're funny. You're nothing. You're just some grease monkey playing dress-up. Aiden, tell her. Aiden stepped between them. He looked down at Maya, and for the first time, he felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no resentment, just a vast, Empty space where his affection used to be. She's right, Maya. Aiden said quietly. You are nothing. You've been nothing since the day I realized you lied about the pendant. Maya's face went white. I never lied. I saved you. You know that. No, Aiden said. He nodded toward Chloe. She saved me. I don't know what you were doing that day 10 years ago, but it wasn't pulling my body out of a ravine. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. And I know about Ethan. I know about the brake lines. I know about the insurance policy you two took out on my life last month. Maya stumbled back as if he'd struck her. How do you know that? It doesn't matter, Aiden said. He straightened up, his expression cold and distant. You have 1 hour to clear your things out of the penthouse. Derek will be there to supervise. The divorce papers will be on your lawyer's desk by Monday. If you try to contact me again, I'll bury you so deep in legal fees you'll be selling that fake pendant for bus fare. He turned his back on her. Aiden, you can't do this. I'm your wife. I'm the one everyone expects you to be with. Who would want you if not me? Maya screeched. Chloe finally looked up. She looked at Maya with a mixture of pity and disdain. Me, Chloe said simply. I would. The garage went silent. Aiden froze. He slowly turned back around. Chloe shrugged, her cheeks flushing slightly, but her eyes were steady. What? Someone had to say it. Now, are you going to stand there arguing with a liar? Or are you going to help me finish tuning this engine? I'm not staying late because you two have drama. Aiden looked at Maya's crumbling face. Then he looked at Chloe's stubborn, brilliant, oil-streaked face. He walked back to the workbench. He picked up a torque wrench and handed it to Chloe. Let's get to work, he said. Behind him, Maya let out a choked sob and ran out of the garage. Aiden didn't watch her go. He was watching Chloe, watching the way her hands moved, listening to the sound of her breathing. I'm choosing me, he thought, and I'm choosing her. The garage emptied out an hour after sunset. Marcus had finished the diagnostics. The news was worse than Aiden expected. It wasn't just a loose bolt. Someone had filed down the threads on 3 separate suspension mounts. It was professional. It was meant to fail at high speed. Ethan, Aiden muttered, staring at the damaged parts on the workbench. He must have paid one of the night crew. Marcus crossed his arms, his jaw tight. I'll find out who. Nobody touches my cars. But Aiden, you're sure about this? Going after Maya? She's a piece of work. But a divorce, that's messy. Aiden didn't answer. He was watching Chloe. She was still here, sitting cross-legged on a rolling creeper, her nose buried in a thick manual titled Advanced Aerodynamics. A pencil was clamped between her teeth. She hadn't left. She hadn't asked for overtime pay. She just stayed. She's not a piece of work, Aiden said quietly. She's the only real thing in this building. Marcus followed his gaze. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, Chloe's my sister. I love her, but she's got her head in the clouds. Racing. It's dangerous. I've tried to keep her away from it. You know, I told her it was just a phase. But she's got a gift. Man, a scary gift. If you're gonna drag her into this world, you better protect her. She's not like Maya. She doesn't know how to play dirty. Neither did I. Aiden said. He turned to Marcus. Until today, I'll protect her. With my life. Marcus studied him for a long moment. Then, he nodded. All right, just don't make me regret it. He grabbed his jacket. Lock up when you leave. And Chloe, try not to sleep in the garage. Yeah. Chloe waved a hand without looking up. No promises. The door slammed shut, leaving them alone. Aiden walked over to her. He leaned against the workbench, his shadow falling over her book. Don't you get tired? He asked. Chloe finally looked up. She pulled the pencil from her teeth. Of what? Breathing. Yes, of this. She tapped the manual. No, it makes sense. Unlike people. People are easy, Aiden said. He crouched down so they were at eye level. They want something. Money, fame, power. Once you know what they want, you know exactly how they'll move. And what do you want? Aiden. The question hit him harder than he expected. In his past life, he'd wanted to win. He'd wanted to find his savior. He'd wanted Maya to love him, though he never understood why. Now, I want the car to run perfectly, he said, his voice low. I want the people around me to be real. And I want, he paused, looking at the grease smudge on her cheek. I want the smell in this room to stay the same. Chloe blinked. You mean the oil and the burnt toast from the break room? I mean you, Aiden said simply. Chloe's cheeks turned pink. She looked back down at her book. But she wasn't reading. That's a weird thing to say. Also, a bit creepy. Are you sure you didn't hit your head earlier? I'm sure. He reached out. Slowly, he brushed his thumb against the smudge of grease on her cheek. Her skin was soft beneath the grime. She went very still. You had this right here when I woke up, he murmured. 10 years ago, when I was lying in that ditch, you had a streak of dirt right here. Chloe's breath caught. How do you remember that? You were unconscious. I remember everything, Aiden said. It was as close to the truth as he could risk. I remember your hands. I remember the pendant. I remember thinking that, if I lived, I'd spend the rest of my life figuring out who you were. He let his hand drop. The air between them crackled with a tension that had nothing to do with electricity or engines. Chloe was quiet for a long time. Then, she reached up and touched the gold pendant hidden under her collar. She pulled it out, letting it rest against the dark fabric of her coveralls. It was my grandmother's, she whispered. I was supposed to be at a friend's house that day, but I snuck out. I wanted to see the cars. I heard the crash. I ran. She looked up at him, her blue eyes wide and vulnerable. You were bleeding. You grabbed my pendant and you wouldn't let go. I thought you were gonna rip it off. My brother would have killed me if I lost it, but you just held on, like it was the only thing keeping you here. Aiden closed his eyes. The memory washed over him. The cold metal, the frantic beating of his heart, and the single point of warmth in a world of pain. When I let go, Chloe continued, you opened your eyes, just for a second. You looked right at me, and then you passed out again. I saw you, Aiden said, opening his eyes. I see you now, Chloe. He didn't move to kiss her. He didn't pull her into an embrace. He just stayed there, crouched in the dim light of the garage, letting the truth settle between them. Chloe swallowed hard. She looked at the pendant, then back at him. A slow, shy smile spread across her face. Well, she said, her voice a little shaky. I guess that explains why you're being so nice to me. You owe me one. I owe you everything. Aiden corrected. She laughed. A soft, genuine sound that echoed in the empty garage. It was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. Okay, Romeo, she said, nudging him with her foot. If you're done with the existential crisis, I could use a hand with this differential. Unless you're scared of getting your hands dirty. Aiden stood up. He cracked his knuckles, a rare smile tugging at his lips. Lead the way, grease monkey. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, Aiden Cole felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The next morning, Aiden stood in the marble foyer of his penthouse apartment. Felt like a museum. Cold, perfect, soulless. Everything Maya had demanded when they bought it. The crystal chandelier she'd insisted on. The white leather furniture that stained if you looked at it wrong. The abstract paintings that cost more than most cars. It all looked cheaper now. All clear, Mr. Cole, Derek said, stepping out of the master bedroom. She took the clothes, the jewelry, most of it insured under your name. By the way, and that boyfriend of hers helped carry out 3 suitcases. Aiden nodded. He walked into the living room. On the glass coffee table, Maya had left a parting gift. The fake silver pendant. She'd placed it carefully in the center of a note. You'll come back. They always come back. Aiden picked up the pendant. It was light, hollow, just like her words. He dropped it into the trash can by the bar. Contact my lawyer, Aiden said. I want the divorce finalized within the week. No alimony. She signed a prenup. Enforce it. And if she tries to contest it, remind her that I have audio of her discussing my accident with Ethan. Derek whistled low. Cold, boss, but effective. I'm done being soft, Aiden said. He pulled out his phone and scrolled past 15 missed calls from Maya. He blocked the number. Then, he blocked Ethan's. As he turned to leave, his phone buzzed with a new text. Not from Maya, from an unknown number. She's crying at my apartment. Says you kicked her out. Is it true? She says she's pregnant. Aiden's jaw tightened. Pregnant. In his past life, Maya had pulled that stunt too. The kid wasn't his. He'd had a private test done years later, after the divorce. But he hadn't known then. He'd stayed out of a sense of duty. Not this time. Aiden typed back a single message. Liar. Tell her to enjoy the bus fare. If I see either of you near my garage, I'll have you arrested for trespassing. Lose this number. He hit send and deleted the thread. When he walked out of the penthouse, he didn't look back. The sun was bright over Nashville. He took a deep breath. The air didn't smell like Maya's cloying perfume. It smelled like the river, like possibility. He drove his personal Aston Martin to the track. Not the race car, just a normal car. He was early. The garage was still locked, but Chloe was already there. She was sitting on the steps, a backpack at her feet, a steaming cup of coffee in her hands. She was wearing the same coveralls as yesterday, but she'd scrubbed the worst of the grease off her face. Her hair was pulled back in a messy braid. She looked up as he approached. "You're late," she said. "I'm exactly on time." Aiden replied, checking his watch. 6:59 a.m. The garage opened at 7 o'clock. Chloe smirked. "I meant for breakfast. I drank the last of the decent coffee." She held out her cup. "Kidding. I saved you some. Black, right? No sugar. You look like a black coffee guy." Aiden took the cup. Their fingers brushed. A spark of static electricity jumped between them. Chloe jerked her hand back, her ears turning pink. He took a sip. "It was perfect." "How did you know?" he asked. "Lucky guess," she said, standing up and brushing off her jeans. "Or maybe I've been watching you drink coffee for 3 years. Hard to tell which." She unlocked the garage door and flipped on the lights. The GT40 sat in the center of the room like a sleeping beast. "I finished the differential last night," Chloe said, grabbing her wrench. "Ran some simulations on my laptop. If we adjust the camber by half a degree, we'll shave 3 seconds off your lap time at the Nashville 500. Aiden set his coffee down. He walked over to the car, running a hand along the fender. 3 seconds is a lifetime in racing." "I know," Chloe said, popping the hood. "That's why I did it. Also, because Marcus bet me $20 you wouldn't notice. So, try to act surprised when he gets here." Aiden looked at her, really looked at her. She was standing there, confident, brilliant, and completely unaware that she was the most valuable asset he owned. "He's going to lose that bet," Aiden said. "Damn right," Chloe muttered, already buried in the engine bay. Aiden pulled out his phone. He scrolled to a different app, his investment portfolio. In his past life, he'd focused solely on racing, but he'd paid attention to the market. He knew which tech startups were about to explode, which pharmaceutical companies were on the verge of breakthroughs. He made 3 quick transfers. Millions moved from his racing account into a series of offshore investments. By the end of the year, he wouldn't just be a racer, he'd be a billionaire. "Who are you calling?" Chloe asked without looking up. "My lawyer." Aiden lied smoothly. "Setting up a new company. Another one. Don't you have enough?" "This one's different," Aiden said. He looked at the back of Chloe's head, at the way her braid swayed as she worked. "It's going to be called Bennett Cole Performance. I want you to be the chief engineer." Chloe's head whipped around so fast she nearly dropped her wrench. "You want me to be what?" "Chief engineer," Aiden repeated. "You'll have full autonomy over the R&D department. Double whatever Marcus is paying you. Full benefits. And a corner office with a window." Chloe stared at him, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. "Aiden, I'm 21. I don't even have a degree yet. Marcus barely lets me touch the air filters. You can't just—" "I can." Aiden interrupted. He walked over to her, his presence calm and absolute. "I'm the owner. I say who touches the car. And I say you're the best damn engineer in this city. Maybe the country. Don't argue with me, Chloe. You'll lose." She narrowed her eyes. "Are you trying to bribe me with a job?" "I'm trying to give you what you deserve," Aiden said. "The choice is yours. But I'm not taking no for an answer." Chloe looked at the car. Then she looked at him. The skepticism in her eyes slowly melted into something warmer. Something like pride. Triple my salary, she said suddenly. Aiden raised an eyebrow. Done. And a lab with actual equipment. Not just rusty wrenches. Consider it built. And you have to tell Marcus. I'm not dealing with his ego when he finds out his kid sister is running the show. Aiden allowed himself a small smile. I'll enjoy that. Chloe stuck out her hand. Deal. Aiden looked at her hand. Instead of shaking it, he covered it with both of his. Her hand was small, calloused, and strong. Deal, he said. From the garage entrance. A throat cleared. Marcus stood there, holding 2 bags of donuts and looking thoroughly confused. Did I miss something? He asked. Since when does Chloe get a corner office? Aiden released Chloe's hand. He picked up his coffee and took a long sip. Since now, he said. 2 days later, Aiden was suited up, not in fire-retardant Nomex, but in a charcoal Tom Ford suit. He stood in the hospitality suite overlooking the Nashville Speedway. Below, the crowd roared, engines thundered, sponsors laughed too loudly and drank champagne that cost more than a month's rent. And in the center of it all, like a bad smell that wouldn't fade, was Maya. She was draped over a velvet rope, talking to a group of photographers. She'd squeezed herself into a red dress that was at least 2 sizes too small. She was smiling, but her eyes kept darting toward the elevator, waiting for him. Beside Aiden, Chloe shifted her weight. She hated these events. Aiden could tell by the way she kept adjusting the sleeves of her blazer. It was a nice blazer, navy blue, tailored, but she clearly felt like she was wearing a costume. Suck it up, Bennett, Aiden murmured, handing her a glass of sparkling water. You're the chief engineer. Act like it. I am acting, Chloe whispered back. I'm acting like I don't want to be elbow deep in a transmission instead of listening to some guy named Chad explain why his tequila brand is revolutionary. Aiden hid a smile behind his own glass. 5 minutes. Make an appearance. Then we leave. Promise. Promise. He offered her his arm. Chloe hesitated for only a second before looping her hand through the crook of his elbow. Her touch was light, but it anchored him. They stepped out onto the balcony. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Conversations stuttered to a halt. Every eye turned to them, specifically, to the grease monkey holding Aiden Cole's arm. Maya's smile vanished. She straightened up so fast she nearly toppled off her heels. Aiden didn't acknowledge her. He guided Chloe through the crowd, nodding politely at sponsors, introducing her with a calm authority that brooked no argument. Mr. Harrison, this is Chloe Bennett, our new chief engineer. She's the reason the GT40 is running 3 seconds faster this season. Mrs. Davenport, Chloe designed the new aerodynamic spoiler you sponsored. Brilliant work, Chad. Good to see you, Chloe. This is Chad. He sells tequila. Chad. Chloe builds engines. Guess which one pays the bills? Chloe played her part perfectly. She shook hands, answered technical questions with a sharp precision that left the sponsors blinking in awe, and never once looked intimidated. But Aiden felt the tension in her arm. He felt the way her pulse jumped when Maya started walking toward them. Aiden, Maya said, her voice cutting through the din. She stopped a few feet away. Her eyes narrowed to slits. We need to talk. I'm busy, Maya, Aiden said without looking at her. He was examining a schematic Chloe had pulled from her pocket. This is ridiculous, Maya hissed. She reached out to grab his arm, but Chloe subtly shifted, placing herself between them. Ms. Jennings, Chloe said, her voice cool and steady. Mr. Cole is currently reviewing proprietary data. If you'd like to schedule a meeting with his secretary, you can do so next Tuesday between 2 and 2:15. That's his designated ex-wife window. Several people nearby choked on their drinks. Maya's face turned a violent shade of purple. You little. She's the chief engineer, Aiden said, finally looking at Maya. His eyes were glacial. You're just the girl who used to wave pom-poms. Know your place. He turned back to Chloe. Finish the briefing. Chloe nodded, launching into a detailed explanation of tire pressure differentials. Aiden listened, but he was watching Maya from the corner of his eye. She was shaking. Humiliation radiated off her in waves. But it wasn't enough. She wasn't done. Fine. Maya spat. She leaned closer, pitching her voice low so only Aiden and Chloe could hear. Keep playing hero. But don't forget, I know things. About you. About us. I know why you really married me. Guilt. Because you couldn't find her. The real one. Well, guess what? She's probably dead. And you're stuck with this. She gestured at Chloe with disgust. This oil-stained replacement. Chloe stopped talking. The silence was deafening. Aiden felt a surge of cold fury. He stepped forward, forcing Maya to take a hasty step back. Listen closely, Maya, he said, his voice dangerously soft. You didn't marry me because I was grateful. You married me because you were greedy. You didn't save me. You buried me. And as for Chloe, he looked at Chloe, his expression softening just enough for her to see. She's not a replacement. She's the original, the gold standard. And you're just the rough draft we threw away. He turned to the room at large. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption. Ms. Jennings was just leaving. 2 security guards appeared at Maya's elbows. She struggled, her voice rising into a shriek. He'll come back to me. They always do. You'll see. Without me, he's nothing. Aiden, please. Aiden ignored her. He guided Chloe toward the exit, shielding her from the cameras flashing in their faces. They didn't stop until they reached the private elevator. The doors slid shut, sealing them in silence. Chloe let out a long, shaky breath. She leaned back against the mirrored wall, closing her eyes. Well, she said, her voice a little hoarse. That was intense. Did I do okay? Aiden looked at her. Her hair was slightly mussed. Her lipstick was gone, and there was a tiny smudge of ink on her chin. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. You were perfect, he said. She opened her eyes. She's not going to stop. Aiden, I could see it in her face. She hates me. She hates that you have what she wants. Aiden corrected. My respect, my time, my attention. He reached out, brushing the ink smudge off her chin with his thumb. And she's right about one thing. Chloe tensed. What's that? Aiden leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. He could feel the heat coming off her skin. I did marry her because I was looking for someone, he whispered, but it wasn't guilt that drove me. It was instinct. My soul knew you existed, even when my eyes couldn't find you. And now that I have you, he let the words hang in the air. I'm never letting go. The elevator dinged, signaling their arrival at the private garage level. Aiden stepped back, breaking the spell. He offered Chloe his hand. Come on, chief engineer. Let's go build something that lasts. Chloe looked at his hand. Then she looked at him. A slow, radiant smile spread across her face. Okay, she said, taking his hand. But only if we stop for burgers on the way back. I'm starving. Aiden laughed. A real, genuine laugh that echoed in the empty garage. Deal. As they walked toward his car, Aiden didn't look back at the elevator. He didn't think about Maya. He didn't think about the past. He was exactly where he was supposed to be, with the woman who smelled like motor oil and home. The burger joint was a hole-in-the-wall called the Pit Stop. Greasy, loud, and perfect. Chloe ordered a double bacon cheeseburger with extra pickles. Aiden got a black coffee and watched her devour the food like she hadn't eaten in days. You're staring. Chloe mumbled around a mouthful of beef. I'm learning, Aiden said. In my past life, I never saw you eat. I was too busy looking at the wrong woman. Chloe swallowed, wiping her mouth with a napkin. Past life. You keep saying things like that. Makes me wonder if I should be worried about your sanity. I'm the sanest I've ever been, Aiden said. He reached across the table and tugged gently on a strand of her hair. Eat. You'll need the energy. For what? For tomorrow. I'm clearing out the RD wing. You're gonna have a lab that doesn't smell like old socks and spilled oil. Chloe's eyes lit up. Seriously, you mean it? No more sharing space with Marcus and his collection of half-empty Mountain Dew bottles. Scout's honor, Aiden said. Were you even a scout? She challenged, grinning. Probably not, Aiden admitted, but I'm a man of my word. They finished the meal in comfortable silence. But as they walked back to the car, Aiden noticed something. Chloe's phone, tucked into the pocket of her blazer, vibrated. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. She ignored it. In the car, it happened again. A buzz, followed by a quick, Furtive glance at the screen before she silenced it. Problem? Aiden asked as they pulled out onto the highway. No, just spam, Chloe said too quickly. She shoved the phone deeper into her pocket. Aiden said nothing. He didn't push, but his mind, sharpened by a lifetime of reading telemetry and spotting mechanical flaws, noted the tension in her shoulders, the way her thumb kept worrying at the edge of her seat. Something was wrong. Over the next 3 days, the pattern continued. Chloe was brilliant at work. She redesigned the suspension, optimized the fuel injectors, and made the GT40 handle like a dream. But she was jumpy, distracted. She started taking lunch breaks that lasted an hour. She'd vanish into the back alleys behind the garage, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice low and urgent. On the 4th day, Aiden decided he'd had enough. He waited until she slipped out after lunch. He followed her, keeping a safe distance. She didn't go to an alley. She walked 3 blocks to a nondescript brick building with tinted windows. A sign above the door read, Nashville Adult Learning Center. Aiden frowned. Why would Chloe be here? He watched as she entered a code, slipped inside, and disappeared. He gave her 5 minutes. Then, he followed. Inside, the building was quiet. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. He found her in a small classroom at the end of the hall. She wasn't alone. A woman in a business suit was sitting across from her. Between them was a stack of textbooks and a laptop displaying a complex spreadsheet. And if you want to graduate by spring, you need to finish Module 4 by Friday, the woman was saying. Your grades are excellent, Chloe, but you can't keep missing sessions. The scholarship requires attendance. I know, Ms. Riley, Chloe said, her voice tight with frustration. I'm sorry. It's just, work is crazy right now, Mr. Cole. He's given me this huge opportunity, and I can't let him down. But I also can't let my brother down. He thinks I'm just playing at the garage. If he finds out I'm going to school behind his back. Aiden leaned against the doorframe, making his presence known. Both women looked up. Chloe's face drained of color. Aiden, I can explain. Ms. Riley stood up, smoothing her skirt. Mr. Cole, I wasn't expecting you. I'm Chloe's academic advisor. We're just reviewing her progress in the mechanical engineering program. Engineering program, Aiden repeated. He looked at Chloe. You're in school. Chloe stood up, her hands clenched at her sides. She looked like a cornered animal. Yes, I am. And before you say anything, yes, I know I'm the chief engineer, but a title isn't a degree. I want the degree. I want to prove to my brother, to myself, that I earned this, not because you gave me a job, but because I'm good at it. She took a shaky breath. I didn't tell you because I thought you'd think it was a waste of time, or that I wasn't focused enough, or that you'd fire me for lying. I'm sorry, Aiden. I wanted to be good enough for you without the degree, but I also wanted the degree for me. Aiden walked into the room. He ignored Ms. Riley. He ignored the textbooks. He walked right up to Chloe and cupped her face in his hands. You're already good enough, he said firmly. You've been good enough since the day you shoved that sandwich in my face. Chloe's eyes filled with tears. Then why didn't you say anything? You just stood there. Because I was proud, Aiden said. He brushed a tear off her cheek with his thumb. And because I'm an idiot who thought you were hiding something bad, like a debt, or a hitman. Chloe let out a wet laugh. A hitman? Really? Really? Aiden said. He turned to Ms. Riley. How much is the tuition, Mr. Cole? That's not necessary. Chloe started. How much? Aiden repeated, looking at the advisor. With the scholarship, she's covered through the fall semester, Ms. Riley said. But the lab fees and materials for the senior project are substantial. Around $20,000. Aiden pulled out his checkbook. He wrote a figure, tore out the check, and handed it to Ms. Riley. There, he said. That covers the rest of her degree, plus a stipend for materials. And I want her schedule adjusted. She works from 6 to 2, classes from 3 to 7. No weekends. If she misses a session because of a race, you call me, and I'll personally fly her to the next lecture. Ms. Riley looked stunned. Mr. Cole, this is incredibly generous. It's not generosity, Aiden said. He looked back at Chloe. It's an investment. In the smartest woman I know. Chloe was staring at him, her mouth open. Aiden, you can't just, that's too much. It's not enough. Aiden said. He took her hand, intertwining their fingers. You've been hiding your light under a bushel. Chloe Bennett. Stops now. You're my chief engineer. You're my partner. And you're going to be Dr. Bennett by the time I'm done with you. He leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. Now, he murmured, let's get back to the garage. I have a feeling our friend Ethan is about to make a very big mistake. And I want you there when it happens. Chloe blinked back tears, squeezing his hand so hard her knuckles turned white. Okay, she whispered, lead the way. As they walked out of the classroom, Aiden felt a shift. The last piece of the puzzle had clicked into place. Chloe wasn't just his savior. She was his equal, his match, his future, and he was going to burn the world down to keep her safe. The garage felt colder the next morning. Aiden noticed it the second he walked in. The usual hum of activity was muted. Marcus was hunched over a workbench, avoiding eye contact. The junior mechanics were whispering in corners, shooting nervous glances at Chloe. Chloe, for her part, was pretending nothing was wrong. She was buried under the hood of the GT40, her brow furrowed in concentration. But Aiden saw the tightness around her mouth, the slight tremor in her hands as she adjusted a wrench. Someone had gotten to them. Aiden didn't ask. He walked straight to his office and closed the door. He pulled up the security feeds on his monitor. There, in the parking lot, at 6:15 a.m., Ethan Hayes. He was leaning against a brand new BMW, looking like a used car salesman who'd just discovered cologne. He was talking to Marcus, handing him a manila envelope. Aiden zoomed in. He couldn't hear the audio, but he could read Marcus's body language. Defensive, uncomfortable. Then, Marcus took the envelope. Aiden's jaw tightened. He switched to the financial feed on his second monitor. A notification popped up. A large transfer had been flagged by his bank's fraud detection AI. Withdrawal, $20. 00000 recipient. Nashville Adult Learning Center memo. Tuition/Bennett. Chloe right below it was a new alert. Incoming wire, $50. 00000 sender E. Hayes Holdings memo. Consulting fee M. Jennings. Aiden leaned back in his chair. So that was the game. Ethan was paying Marcus to stay quiet, or worse, to turn on him, and he was using the tuition payment as a weapon, painting Chloe as a gold digger, a leech. He opened his email. There it was, an anonymous tip sent to every major racing blog and sponsor. Subject: Cole's new girl is a fraud. See attached. Aiden Cole's latest chief engineer is actually a student using his money to fund her vanity degree. While Cole sacrifices on the track, Bennett spends his cash on textbooks. Is this the future of Cole performance? A trophy girlfriend with a wrench. The attachment was a screenshot of the tuition receipt. Aiden closed the email. He felt a cold, familiar rage settle in his chest. Not the blind fury of his past life. This was calculated, precise. He stood up and walked back out to the garage. The whispers died instantly. Aiden didn't look at the mechanics. He walked directly to Marcus. Marcus refused to meet his eyes. Boss, look, I can explain. Explain what? Aiden's voice was dangerously quiet. Explain how you took 50 grand from the man who tried to kill me. Explain how you let him turn you against your own sister. Marcus flinched. He said it was just a loan, and that Chloe was using you. Look at the receipts. Aiden, 20 grand. For school. She's playing you. She's playing me. Aiden repeated. He turned to Chloe. She was standing now, her hands covered in grease, her eyes wide with hurt. Chloe, did you ask me for $20,000? Chloe's lower lip trembled. No, you just gave it to me. I tried to tell you it was too much. I know. Aiden said softly. He turned back to Marcus. She didn't ask. I offered. Because she's worth 100 of you. Marcus, because she saves lives, because she makes my car faster, because she's the only person in this building who hasn't tried to stab me in the back for a quick buck. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the checkbook. He wrote a new check, tore it off, and slapped it against Marcus's chest. That's your severance. Aiden said, 50,000. The exact amount Ethan paid you. Consider it a bonus for your years of service, and a fee for your silence. If I ever see your face near my garage again, if I hear you've spoken to Ethan or Maya, I'll sue you for every penny and then some. Do I make myself clear? Marcus looked at the check, then at Aiden. For a second, shame flickered in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by resentment. Crystal, Marcus muttered. He crumpled the check in his fist and walked out. The garage was silent. Aiden turned to the remaining staff. Anyone else feeling chatty? Anyone else get a visit from Mr. Hayes this morning? No one moved. Good, Aiden said, because here's the truth. Chloe Bennett is the smartest person I've ever met. She's the reason this car runs. She's the reason I'm alive. And if any of you repeat the lies Ethan is spreading, you'll be joining Marcus on the unemployment line. Am I understood? A chorus of, yes, Mr. Cole, echoed through the room. Aiden looked at Chloe. She was still standing there, frozen. He walked over to her, ignoring the grease on her overalls, and pulled her into a hug. She stiffened for a second, then melted against him, burying her face in his chest. It's okay, he murmured into her hair. I've got you. They think I'm a gold digger, Chloe whispered, her voice muffled. Marcus thinks I'm a joke. Maybe I am. Maybe I shouldn't have taken the money. You should have. Aiden said firmly. He pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. You're going to change the world, Chloe. And I'm going to fund every textbook, every lab, every degree you need to do it. Let them talk. Their words are wind. Yours are steel. He kissed her forehead. Then, louder, for the entire garage to hear, he said, back to work. And Chloe, I want those specs on my desk by 5. We're going to make Ethan regret the day he was born. The garage erupted back into motion. The tension didn't vanish, but it shifted. The whispers stopped. The work resumed. Chloe pulled away, swiping at her eyes with the back of her greasy hand. She sniffed. I'm going to get oil on your shirt. I don't care, Aiden said. He reached out and wiped a smudge off her cheek. I like the way it smells. She managed a weak smile. You're weird. You love it, he countered. Her smile widened. Yeah, maybe I do. As she turned back to the engine, Aiden's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number, probably Ethan or Maya. He opened it. It was a photo, grainy, taken from a distance. It showed Chloe leaving the adult learning center and standing in the shadows behind her, partially obscured by a dumpster, was a familiar figure, Maya. The caption read, "She's not who you think she is. Ask her about the fire. Ask her what really happened to your first car." A friend. Aiden's blood ran cold. He looked at Chloe. She was humming softly to herself as she tightened a bolt. A fire. His first car. He didn't remember a fire, but as he stared at the photo, a flicker of a memory surfaced. Smoke, heat, the acrid smell of burning plastic, and a young girl's voice screaming, "Get back. It's going to blow." Aiden didn't sleep that night. He sat in his study, the grainy photo on his phone glowing in the dark. Ask her about the fire. He knew Chloe's history in broad strokes. She grew up in a modest house on the outskirts of Nashville. Her father died when she was 10. Her mother moved to Florida. Marcus became her guardian. Standard stuff, but a fire. He didn't remember a fire. In his past life, he'd been obsessed with his own trajectory, winning races, chasing sponsors, and later, chasing the ghost of his savior. He hadn't paid attention to the details of other people's lives, especially not the quiet girl in the background. But now, every detail mattered. At 6 a.m., he drove to the garage. Chloe was already there. She was sitting on the floor, her back against the tire rack, a notebook balanced on her knees. She was sketching something, a complex gear system. By the looks of it, she looked up as he approached. Her eyes were shadowed, but she smiled. "You're early," she said. "So are you," Aiden replied. He sat down beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Couldn't sleep." "Me neither," she admitted. "Too much on my mind. School, work, the fact that my brother probably hates me now." She paused. The fact that you're still here, even after everything. Aiden pulled out his phone. He opened the photo and handed it to her. Chloe's smile faded. Her hand trembled as she took the phone. She stared at the image for a long time. Then, she scrolled to the caption. Ask her about the fire. She let out a shaky breath. Where did you get this? Ethan. Aiden said. Or Maya. Probably both. What fire? Chloe. She didn't answer immediately. She handed the phone back, her gaze fixed on the concrete floor. It was 8 years ago. She whispered. Before I saved you. Before everything. There was a fire at the old Henderson garage. It was where Marcus used to work. I used to sneak in after school to watch him tune the engines. She wrapped her arms around her knees, pulling them to her chest. It was an electrical fire. Started in the breaker box. I was there. So was Maya. She was dating some guy who worked there. She was supposed to meet him, but she was late. I was already inside, hiding in the storage closet, waiting for Marcus to finish so I could beg him to let me help. Chloe's voice caught. The fire spread fast. I tried to get out, but the back door was blocked. I was screaming. Maya heard me. She was outside by then. She could have called 911. She could have run in and pulled me out. She was closer than anyone. Aiden's heart clenched. What did she do? Chloe laughed. But it was a hollow, broken sound. She took a picture. She took a picture of the smoke pouring out of the windows and posted it on her Snapchat. Captioned it, Garage fire lol. Hope nobody's inside. Then she left. She walked away. Aiden saw red. He could feel the phantom heat of the fire. Even though he hadn't been there, he could imagine a 12-year-old Chloe, terrified and alone, while Maya Jennings treated her near death as a social media opportunity. How did you get out? He asked, his voice rough. I kicked through a rotting panel in the closet wall. Chloe said. It led to the alley. I crawled out, covered in soot. By the time the fire department arrived, I was half a mile away. I never told anyone. I was scared Marcus would blame me for being there. And I was ashamed. Ashamed that someone could be that cruel. That someone could hear a kid screaming and just walk away. She looked up at Aiden, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Maya saw me that day. She knew I was in there, and she let me burn. That's why she hates me. Aiden, it's not because of you. It's because I'm a ghost from a day she'd rather forget. A reminder of who she really is. Aiden reached out and tilted her chin up, forcing her to look at him. Listen to me, he said, his voice low and fierce. That fire didn't break you. It forged you. It made you stronger, smarter, more resilient. And as for Maya, he leaned in, his forehead almost touching hers. She's going to pay for every second you spent choking on smoke. I promise you that. Chloe closed her eyes. A single tear escaped, trailing a clean path through the grease on her cheek. I'm not a hero, Aiden, she whispered. I'm just someone who survived. You're my hero, Aiden said simply. He kissed the tear away. And I survived because of you. They sat there in silence as the sun rose, painting the garage in shades of gold and gray. Finally, Chloe stirred. What are we going to do about Ethan and Maya? They're not going to stop. We're going to end it, Aiden said. He stood up, pulling her with him. Today, I have a race this weekend, the Nashville 500. Ethan and Maya will be there. This time we gave them a show they'll never forget. But Ethan might try something, Chloe said, her brow furrowing. He's desperate. He might sabotage the car again. He won't get the chance, Aiden said. He walked over to the GT40, running a hand along its sleek flank. Because this time, we're not waiting for him to make a move. We're setting a trap. And you, Chloe Bennett, are going to be the bait. Chloe's eyes widened. Bait, Aiden. No, relax, Aiden said, a dangerous smile playing on his lips. I'll be right there with you. And this time, when the trap springs, it won't be the car that crashes. It'll be them. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Derek, it's Aiden. I need you to leak some information. Tell Ethan that Chloe will be handling the final inspection of the GT40 alone tonight. And make sure he knows she'll be wearing the pendant. He hung up and looked at Chloe. Tonight, he said. We finish this. Chloe looked at the car. then back at him. The fear in her eyes was replaced by a steely resolve. She nodded once. "Okay," she said, "but if I die, I'm haunting you." Aiden laughed. A dark, thrilling sound. "Deal." The garage was too quiet. Chloe stood beside the GT40, her hands resting on the cool metal of the fender. She was wearing the gold pendant. Felt heavier than usual, maybe because she knew someone was watching. Aiden was nearby, hidden behind a stack of tire crates, his phone patched directly to Derek's security feed. He could see everything: the thermal readings, the motion sensors, the live feed from the tiny camera tucked into the rafters above Chloe's head. At exactly 11:47 p.m., the side door creaked open. Ethan Hayes slipped inside. He was dressed in black, a ski mask pulled over his face. In his hand, he carried a small canister of accelerant and a pair of wire cutters. He moved toward the car, his footsteps unnaturally loud in the silence. He didn't notice Chloe at first. He was focused on the fuel line. Aiden Cole thinks he's so smart. Ethan muttered to himself. Thinks he can throw me out. Take my girl. I'll burn this whole place down. Let's see how fast his precious car runs when it's a pile of ash. He reached for the fuel cap. Your girl. Chloe's voice cut through the air like a whip. Ethan froze. He spun around, his eyes widening behind the mask. You, what are you doing here? I work here, Chloe said. She didn't move. She didn't flinch. She just looked at him with an expression of pure, icy contempt. And you're not supposed to be here. Marcus already took his bribe. You must be desperate if you're doing your own dirty work now. Ethan snarled. He dropped the accelerant and raised the wire cutters. Shut up, you little grease monkey. You don't know who you're messing with. Aiden might like you now, but once I send him the video of you accidentally cutting the brakes, he'll toss you aside like yesterday's trash. Just like Maya said. Maya's not here, Chloe said. She's probably at home, crying into a bottle of cheap wine, wondering why the man she threw away won't look back. But you're just a thug with a wrench. And I've been working with wrenches longer than you've been walking. She took a step forward, then another. Ethan took a step back. Stay back. I'll do it. I'll cut the lines. Go ahead. Chloe challenged. Cut them. See what happens. That's not the brake line. It's the secondary fuel return. Even if you sever it, the car has triple redundancy. Aiden designed it that way, after someone already tried to kill him once. Ethan hesitated. His hand trembled. The wire cutters wavered in midair. You're lying, he whispered. Am I? Chloe reached up and touched the pendant. Ask Aiden about the night I saved him. Ask him about the feel of this pendant in his hand as he blacked out. He remembers, Ethan. He remembers everything. And he knows you're here. As if on cue, the overhead lights snapped on. Ethan screamed, dropping the cutters. He spun around, blinking wildly. Aiden stepped out from the shadows. He wasn't wearing a mask. He wasn't hiding. He looked calm, too calm. Derek and two other security guards emerged from the side doors, blocking Ethan's escape. It's over, Ethan, Aiden said. His voice was devoid of emotion. You're on camera. You're on audio. And you just confessed to attempted arson and sabotage. Derek, call the police. And make sure Maya's lawyer gets a copy of that recording. I want her charged as an accessory before the fact. Ethan fell to his knees. No, you can't. Maya made me do it. She said we'd get the money. She said. I don't care what she said. Aiden interrupted. He walked over to Chloe, placing a protective hand on the small of her back. You touched my car. You threatened the woman I love. There is no forgiveness for that. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They hauled Ethan away, screaming about lawyers and conspiracies. As they led him out, he caught one last glimpse of Chloe standing tall beside Aiden, her hand resting on the GT40, the gold pendant gleaming under the lights. It was the last thing he saw before the patrol car door slammed shut. 2 days later, Nashville Speedway, the stands were packed. The energy was electric. Aiden Cole was on pole position, and in the pit box, right next to Marcus's old spot, stood Chloe Bennett. She was wearing a custom fire suit, navy blue, with Bennett Cole Performance embroidered in gold across the back. Her hair was tucked under a helmet, but her eyes were visible through the visor, sharp and focused. Maya was there too. She had managed to score a pass to the VIP section, though she looked woefully out of place among the team owners and engineers. She was watching Chloe with undisguised hatred. When Aiden climbed out of the car after the warm-up lap, he didn't go to the sponsors. He didn't go to Maya. He walked straight to Chloe. The crowd roared, thinking it was a pre-race ritual. But this was different. Aiden reached up and gently lifted Chloe's visor. Then, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, velvet box. Chloe's eyes widened. Aiden, what are you doing? The first time I saw you, you were shoving a sandwich in my face. Aiden said, his voice carrying over the noise of the engines. The second time, you were telling me my engine sounded wrong. Today, you're telling me I'm going to win. I'm done waiting. Chloe, I'm done looking for you. I found you 10 years ago. And again today. He opened the box. Inside wasn't a diamond ring. It was a carbon fiber ring, embedded with a single, flawless diamond. It was sleek, modern, and nearly indestructible. Marry me, Aiden said. Not because I owe you, not because you saved me, but because you're the only person who makes me want to wake up tomorrow. Because you smell like home. Because I can't imagine a world where you aren't my partner. My wife, my chief engineer. The crowd had gone silent. Even the engines seemed to quiet. Chloe stared at the ring. Tears filled her eyes, but she was smiling. A huge, radiant smile that lit up the entire speedway. You're crazy, she whispered. Crazy about you, Aiden corrected. She laughed, a sound that echoed through the pit lane. Yes, she said. Yes, Aiden. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Then, he did something he'd never done before. He kissed her, right there in front of 40,000 people. A deep, searing kiss that left no doubt about who she was to him. In the VIP box, Maya turned away, her face in her hands. She had lost everything. The money, the status, the man she thought she could control. She had lost to a girl in grease-stained coveralls who smelled like motor oil. Aiden broke the kiss, resting his forehead against Chloe's. Now, he murmured, let's go win this race. 1 year later, the workshop was quiet except for the soft hum of the AC. Aiden sat in a leather chair, a baby monitor on his knee. Their daughter, Lily, was sleeping in the next room. She was 6 months old and already had her mother's grip on a wrench. Chloe was at the workbench, adjusting a prototype for a new hybrid engine. She was wearing a simple white tank top, her hair pulled up in a messy bun. The gold pendant rested against her skin, and the carbon fiber ring glinted under the light. She looked up, catching him watching her. What? She asked, a smile playing on her lips. Nothing, Aiden said. Just thinking. Dangerous habit. She teased. He stood up, crossing the room to wrap his arms around her from behind. He buried his face in her neck, breathing in the scent of her shampoo and the faint, ever-present smell of machine oil. I was thinking, he murmured, that I've had 2 lives. One was full of noise and lies. The other is full of you. I like this one better. Chloe leaned back against him, covering his hands with hers. I like it too. Although, for the record, the sandwich I gave you that day, I put extra mustard on it. I figured if you died, at least you'd die with good flavor. Aiden laughed, a deep, contented sound. He turned her around, kissing her slowly, savoring the taste of her. Outside, the sun was setting over the Nashville skyline. The garage was quiet. The engines were still. But in the center of it all, Aiden Cole held the woman who had saved him twice. Once from a wreck, and once from a life not worth living. And this time, he wasn't letting go. The end.